You ever notice how people talk too much about their problems? They share every detail, every setback, every frustration, every move they make. But let me ask you something. Does that ever really help? Or does it just drain your energy and make you more vulnerable? You see, when you constantly tell people what's going on in your life, you give them access to your power. You invite opinions, doubts, and unnecessary negativity. You open the door for people to question your journey, to challenge your dreams, and sometimes to secretly hope you fail. You don't owe the world an explanation for your struggles. You don't have to justify your grind. Silence is power. Privacy is strength. And your laser-sharp focus should be on action, not announcements. When you constantly share what's happening in your life, your struggles, your setbacks, your dreams, you give away something far more valuable than just words. You give away your energy, your focus, and most importantly, your power. Talking about your challenges might feel like a release, like you're unburdening yourself, but in reality, you're dispersing your strength into the hands of others. You're allowing their opinions, their doubts, and their judgments to infiltrate your mindset, whether you realize it or not. The moment you start explaining yourself to people, you place yourself in a position of seeking approval. You may not intend it, but it happens. When you say, I'm working on something big, or I've been going through a tough time, you subconsciously invite feedback, and not all feedback is helpful. Some will come from a place of genuine concern, but much of it will come from a place of skepticism, criticism, or even hidden envy. There are people who, instead of lifting you up, will question your abilities. They'll tell you it's too hard, that you're not ready, that the odds are against you. And when you hear those words enough, they start embedding themselves into your subconscious. Even if you try to ignore them, they linger in your mind. They plant seeds of doubt that can grow into full-fledged obstacles. Silence, on the other hand, keeps you in control. When you don't share your every move, no one has the opportunity to question it. No one can interfere with a plan they don't know exists. You stay focused, you stay disciplined, and most importantly, you stay protected. When you move in silence, your energy remains intact, unshaken by the noise of the world. Think about the strongest people you know. The ones who seem unbreakable, unstoppable. Do they go around broadcasting their struggles? Do they seek sympathy? Or do they handle their challenges behind closed doors, emerging only when they've already conquered? The most powerful individuals understand that their strength lies in their ability to endure, to push forward without distraction, without unnecessary exposure. Many people believe that sharing their struggles will bring them closer to others, that it will make them more relatable. And while there is a time and place for vulnerability, there is also a dangerous side to overexposure. When you let too many people into your personal battles, you open the door to emotional exhaustion. You spread your energy too thin, giving pieces of yourself to too many people. And in the end, you're left drained, with nothing left to fuel your own journey. People often confuse silence with weakness. They think that if you're not speaking about your struggles, you must not be facing any. But silence is not weakness. Silence is restraint. Silence is wisdom. It is the understanding that not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every challenge needs to be announced. And not every move needs to be broadcasted. When you choose silence, you take full control over your narrative. You eliminate unnecessary noise, cutting out the distractions that come from external opinions. You protect your dreams from being tainted by doubt, your goals from being diminished by naysayers. You give yourself the space to work, to build, to grow without interference. There is an unmatched power in being the person who simply moves, the one who doesn't explain but executes, the one who doesn't announce but achieves. Because when you reach your destination, when you finally accomplish what you set out to do, you won't need to justify a thing. The results will speak for themselves, and the world will have no choice but to take notice. People often assume that others care about their struggles as much as they do. They believe that by sharing their hardships, they will receive the understanding, support, or validation they seek. But the truth is, most people don't care, not because they are heartless or cruel, but because they are too busy dealing with their own struggles, their own problems, their own insecurities. Everyone has something weighing on their mind, something keeping them up at night, something they are fighting through. And in the grand scheme of things, your problems are not their priority. At first, it may seem comforting to share what you're going through, to vent, to express your frustration. But how often does that really help? Most of the time, all it does is give you a temporary sense of relief while doing nothing to change your actual situation. Worse, it often leads to disappointment when you realize that the people you confided in don't offer the kind of support you expected. You may find that they respond with empty words, forced sympathy, or even worse, indifference. And that's when the harsh reality sets in. Most people listen out of politeness, not genuine concern. Then there are those who pretend to care but are actually collecting information. They listen to your struggles not to help you, but to use your vulnerabilities against you later. Have you ever noticed how some people suddenly become interested in your life only when things aren't going well? It's because your struggles make them feel better about their own. Some people thrive on knowing that others are struggling because it reassures them that they are not alone in their own failures. Instead of offering true support, they secretly feel a sense of satisfaction knowing that you, too, are facing difficulties. The more you share, the more you expose yourself to unnecessary opinions, judgments, and negativity. Even when people do care, their advice is often shaped by their own fears and limitations. They project their own insecurities onto you, telling you what they think is realistic or possible based on their own experiences. But their reality is not your reality. Their limitations are not your limitations. Just because they failed at something doesn't mean you will. Just because they were afraid to take a risk doesn't mean you should be. Yet, the more you listen to these voices, the more they can start to shape your beliefs and influence your decisions in ways that do not serve you. It's important to understand that your journey is yours alone. No one else truly understands what you are going through. No one else feels the emotions you feel or carries the burdens you carry, so why waste time trying to make them understand? Why seek validation from people who may not even have your best interests at heart? The more you focus on explaining yourself to others, the more time and energy you take away from actually solving your problems. Instead of looking for sympathy, channel that energy into action. Instead of expecting others to care, learn to be your own source of strength. The people who truly care about you don't need constant updates on your struggles. They will be there when you need them, not because you constantly remind them of your pain, but because they genuinely support you. And even then, your deepest battles are often best fought in silence. When you stop looking for external validation and instead trust yourself, you become unstoppable. You learn to rely on your own resilience, your own determination, your own ability to rise above whatever challenges come your way. At the end of the day, most people are too consumed with their own lives to genuinely care about yours. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It simply means that your energy is better spent on moving forward rather than explaining where you are. You don't need everyone to understand your struggles. You don't need the world to sympathize with you. What you need is to keep pushing, keep growing, and keep proving to yourself that you are stronger than any obstacle that comes your way. Winners don't waste time explaining themselves. They don't sit around trying to convince others why they are working so hard, why they are making sacrifices, or why they believe in something bigger than what the world sees right now. They simply move forward, doing what needs to be done with or without approval. Their actions speak louder than words. Their results silence every doubt. When you constantly talk about what you're going to do, you waste energy that should be used for execution. Every time you share your plans, you invite unnecessary opinions, distractions, and even self-doubt. You open the door for people to question you, for negativity to seep in, for fear to take hold. The more you talk, the more you expose your dreams to criticism. And the more you risk being discouraged before you even begin. True winners don't seek validation. They don't need applause or reassurance before they take action. They trust themselves, their vision, and their work. They understand that the only way to prove something is to do it, not to talk about it. Talking about success doesn't create success. Action does. There's a reason why the most successful people in the world are often the quietest about their next move. They understand the power of focus. They don't let their energy get scattered by explaining themselves to people who don't matter. They don't feel the need to justify their grind. Instead, they channel everything into the work itself, and by the time the world sees what they've built, it's already done. Most people talk because they want recognition before they've actually achieved anything. They want to feel accomplished without putting in the work. But talking about a goal and reaching a goal are two entirely different things. Many people get so caught up in the excitement of sharing their ambitions that they lose momentum before they even start. The dopamine rush from receiving encouragement tricks them into feeling like they've already made progress, when in reality, they haven't taken a single real step toward their goal. Winners don't fall into that trap. They don't let words replace action. They don't waste energy convincing people of their dreams. They simply execute. They work in silence, they make progress in the dark, and when they finally emerge, their success speaks for itself. There is no need for explanations, no need for justification, just undeniable results. Talking too much about your plans also puts unnecessary pressure on you. When you announce your goals to the world, you create expectations, and when those expectations are not met on other people's timelines, you feel like you've failed, even when you haven't. People start asking questions. What happened to that business you were starting? Weren't you supposed to be moving by now? These questions plant seeds of doubt. They make you second-guess yourself. They make you feel like you're falling behind, even when you're exactly where you need to be. Winners avoid this entirely by keeping their journey to themselves. They don't set themselves up for unnecessary scrutiny. They don't invite pressure that doesn't serve them. They move with quiet confidence, knowing that success is built in the unseen moments when no one is watching, when no one is applauding, when the only motivation is their own inner drive. In the end, the only thing that matters is what you actually do, not what you say you'll do, not what you hope to do, just what you get done. Winners understand this. That's why they don't waste time explaining themselves. They just win. Keeping your plans private is one of the smartest moves you can make. When people don't know what you're up to, they can't interfere, they can't place doubts in your mind, and they can't sabotage what they don't see coming. Silence protects your vision, your energy, and your progress. It keeps you moving forward without the unnecessary weight of opinions, judgments, and distractions. Many people underestimate the power of mystery. They think they need to tell others what they're working on for validation, encouragement, or support. But more often than not, this openness works against them. The moment you start sharing your plans, you invite questions, skepticism, and sometimes even envy. People begin projecting their own fears and limitations onto you, making you second-guess yourself before you've even had the chance to fully commit. When you reveal too much, you expose yourself to criticism from people who have no real understanding of your vision. They'll tell you why your idea won't work, why the timing is wrong, or why someone else tried and failed. And the more you hear these voices, the harder it becomes to stay focused on your path. Doubt is contagious, and when you allow too many outside opinions into your mind, you risk letting them shape your decisions in ways that don't serve you. Mystery gives you control. It allows you to build without interruption, to make mistakes without judgment, and to adjust your course without the pressure outside expectations. When no one knows what you're working on, you're free to move at your own pace, experiment, and refine your strategy without interfering. There's no one questioning your progress, no one waiting for updates, and no one placing unnecessary stress on your shoulders. Beyond that, keeping your plans private protects you from those who may not have your best interests at heart. Not everyone wants to see you succeed. Some people, whether consciously or unconsciously, thrive on the idea of others staying in the same place. When they see you striving for more, they may attempt to discourage you, not because your dreams are impossible, but because your ambition reminds them of what they're not doing in their own lives. The less people know, the less they can disrupt. Some will try to undermine you simply because they feel threatened by your growth. Others may even go as far as to take your ideas and execute them before you get the chance. This happens more often than people realize. Someone shares an exciting business idea, a creative project, or a major move they're about to make, only to find out that someone else has beaten them to it. By keeping things to yourself until they are solidified, you ensure that your work is protected. Mystery also makes you more powerful. It forces people to pay attention to your actions rather than your words. When you don't constantly explain yourself, people start to wonder what you're up to. They become intrigued. And when you finally reveal your success, it's undeniable because you've already done the work. There's no need to justify, no need to explain, no need to prove anything. Your results speak for themselves. Think about the most influential and successful people in the world. They don't broadcast their every move. They don't spend time explaining why they're making decisions. They simply act, and by the time the world notices, it's already done. That's the power of moving in silence. That's the advantage of keeping your plans to yourself. It allows you to stay focused, to protect your energy, and to build something great without interference. When you operate with a level of mystery, you maintain control over your journey, you eliminate the distractions that come with external opinions, and you give yourself the freedom to work without limitations. You don't need the world to understand what you're doing. You just need to stay committed, stay focused, and let your actions do all the talking when the time is right. Talking about your struggles doesn't make them any easier to overcome. In fact, the more you talk about them, the more power you give them. Every time you repeat a hardship, you reinforce it in your mind, making it feel even more overwhelming than it actually is. Words have energy, and when you constantly verbalize negativity, you breathe life into it. You make your problems seem bigger, more significant, and more permanent than they truly are. Strong people don't waste time talking about how hard life is. They don't constantly explain why things are difficult or why they're struggling. Instead, they channel that energy into action. They focus on solutions rather than endlessly discussing problems. They understand that words alone won't change their reality, only effort will. Complaining and over-explaining only delay progress. Many people believe that sharing their struggles will bring them comfort or support. But the reality is that it often does the opposite. When you talk too much about your difficulties, you invite pity instead of respect. People may sympathize with you, but sympathy won't get you where you want to be. Sympathy keeps you stuck. It makes you feel momentarily understood, but does nothing to push you forward. What you need isn't sympathy, it's strength. Talking too much about your problems also shifts your focus in the wrong direction. Instead of thinking about solutions, you spend too much time dwelling on what's wrong. Your mind becomes trapped in a cycle of negativity, and before you know it, you've talked yourself into believing that your struggles are insurmountable. Strong individuals refuse to let their circumstances define them. They refuse to give their hardships more power than they deserve. Another problem with talking too much about your struggles is that it creates an identity around suffering. You start to see yourself as a victim. You start believing that life is unfair, that you are powerless, that your problems are unique. But struggle is not an identity, it's a phase. Everyone faces challenges, but not everyone allows those challenges to control them. Strong people refuse to let their difficulties become their defining story. They refuse to be known for their struggles. Instead, they choose to be known for their resilience, their strength, and their ability to rise above adversity. When you talk about your hardships too often, you also risk attracting negativity from others. Some people will pretend to care, but deep down, they enjoy seeing others struggle because it makes them feel better about their own lives. They will listen, not to help you, but to compare their own problems with yours. Others will secretly hope you fail, using your struggles as proof that success is impossible. The more you talk about what's going wrong, the more you give these people power over your mindset. Strong individuals know that silence is their greatest weapon. They don't announce their battles, they fight them. They don't explain their struggles, they overcome them. And when they finally achieve success, they don't need to justify anything, the results speak for themselves. Instead of looking for understanding, they look for solutions. Instead of seeking sympathy, they build strength. Instead of reinforcing their problems with words, they dismantle them with action. By refusing to talk too much about hardships, you reclaim control over your mindset. You stop allowing struggles to define your story. You start focusing on what you can do rather than what's holding you back. And most importantly, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than any challenge that comes your way. Your journey is yours alone. No one else is walking in your shoes. No one else feels what you feel. And no one else truly understands the battles you are fighting. The mistake many people make is expecting others to comprehend their pain, their dreams, and their sacrifices. But the truth is, no one will ever fully understand what drives you, what keeps you up at night, or why you push so hard. And that's okay. You don't need them to. There is a certain strength in solitude. Growth happens in the quiet moments when no one is watching. The greatest transformations take place in silence, away from the opinions, judgments, and expectations of the world. When you stop looking for external validation and start relying on yourself, you unlock a level of resilience that cannot be shaken by doubt or fear. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to realize that everything you need is already within you. Many people spend too much time trying to explain their journey to others, hoping for approval, encouragement, or understanding. But no one else is living your life. No one else sees your vision the way you do. No one else feels your passion the way you feel it. And because of this, their opinions are often based on their own fears, their own limitations, and their own life experiences, not yours. If you allow those opinions to influence you, you risk making decisions that don't align with your true purpose. The most successful people in the world understand this. They don't waste time justifying their path to those who don't understand it. They don't look for approval before they take action. They simply move forward with quiet confidence, knowing that their journey is theirs alone. They trust the process, even when it's difficult, even when it's lonely, even when no one else sees the vision. Loneliness is often a part of the journey to success. There will be moments when you feel like no one supports you, when you question whether you're on the right path, when doubt creeps in. But those moments are where the real growth happens. Those moments are where you learn who you truly are. When you stop expecting others to understand your journey, you free yourself from the need for external validation. You stop seeking approval and start trusting your own instincts. The road to success is not meant to be crowded. It requires focus, discipline, and an unshakable belief in yourself. When you spend too much time explaining your journey to others, you slow yourself down. You open yourself up to opinions that don't serve you, to distractions that take you off course, and to doubts that don't belong to you. The more you keep your journey to yourself, the more power you have over it. Your struggles, your sacrifices, and your victories are all part of your personal story. No one else is entitled to understand them. And when you finally reach your destination, when you accomplish what you set out to do, you won't need to explain how you got there. Your success will speak for itself. Your growth will be undeniable. Your transformation will be obvious. And the people who once questioned you will have no choice but to recognize the power of a journey walked in silence, with unwavering faith and relentless determination.